welcome to the Whitman Freedom Team programming here on Whitman-Hanson Cable. I'm Mike Krzanek, and with me is Tom Evans and our special guest who he'll introduce in a second. This is the fourth of our programming here, and what we try to do here on cable network is to try to inform you about some of the issues that are prominent in our community here in Whitman, and some of the challenges that are important for you, the citizens of Whitman, to address. And we're going to go through that today and continue on. I just want to remind you that we're on regularly once a week, and also on YouTube as well. So there's plenty of opportunity for us to present to you not only our guests, but some of the issues. So I'll turn it over now to the Executive Director and President of the Whitman Freedom Team, Tom Evans.
Thanks, Michael. Today we're really pleased to have our Superintendent of the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District, Jeffrey Szymaniak.
Correct.
And Jeff is here dressed informally for a reason. The temperature in his office at this time is 87. So he's taking a break to come down here and help us. He committed to it, and he's holding that commitment.
Plus, it's cooler here.
It's cooler here. It's awesome.
It is.
It feels great.
Jeff, I have just a few questions for you.
Sure.
My first question would be, can you give us a brief overview of how your professional career began and why you decided to become superintendent of Whitman-Hanson Regional School District?
Absolutely, I will do that. But I just want to thank you guys for inviting me to be here today to share with you some thoughts on what we do in the district, and also to be part of the Freedom Team. So, you know, we reached out, we had that conversation almost a year ago.
That's right.
And I'm sorry I can't make every meeting, and you guys have been gracious, but I really enjoy having my district and my district folks being part of that Freedom Team, something, a worthwhile cause to get information out to the community and making sure our communities are safe and secure for all that live there.
We certainly appreciate that.
A little bit about me. You know, when I didn't make center field for the New York Yankees, I had to change paths. I've always tried to be in a leadership position, and we spoke before this started that I was an assistant manager in McDonald's back in high school and college, and I was a head guard. But I wanted to teach. Coming out of college, my dad told me, you know, there's only a couple of licenses that were forever, and teaching is one, and I had a passion to teach. And back in the 90s, it was really difficult to get a teaching position. I was lucky enough to start subbing. This is my 30th year in education. 1994, Abington took a chance on me, and I was a long-term sub in Abington. Well, then they asked me to start an alternative classroom for kids at risk, and that's the other passion that I have. Mm-hmm. Kids that don't fit the mainstream, kids that might be a little different, kids that struggle with learning. So I started an alternative classroom in Abington, then moved to Scituate, where I did the same, then taught history and social studies there until my principal said, you're going to be our next assistant principal. So in 2001, I became an assistant principal, was in Scituate for a few years as an assistant, went to West Bridgewater as a principal, served there for 4, and Whitman-Hanson came calling in 2010. This is my 15th year in Whitman-Hanson, 8 of being a principal. And then when the former superintendent decided to retire, a couple of leaders within the district said, what do you think? And we spoke amongst ourselves, and I took the risk and now opportunity and pleasure of being the superintendent after I was selected in 2017 for the 2018. It was the day after Valentine's Day, February 15th, 2018, where the school committee unanimously chose me as superintendent. It's been a great ride. It's difficult at times, but there's nothing better than watching our children and our community come together for the kids in our district. Tomorrow's opening day. I said, it's the second best day of the year. Graduation for me is the best day of the year. Opening day is the second best, and we'll go through that tomorrow. So that's how I got here. It's been a good ride so far. I hope to complete my career in Whitman-Hanson in the next 3 to 4 years, and see where and showcase where we've come.
Mm-hmm. Any regrets? Doesn't sound like it.
No regrets. Again, I wish I could be, playing in the new Yankee Stadium, but things happen. But no, I'm very blessed to be part of the teaching profession. Mm-hmm. When I interview new teachers now, I get to sign them to a contract, and one of the things I share in that interview is this might be your last interview ever. I hope you're a lifelong Whitman-Hanson Panther, and this is the last contract you sign, and in 35 years you can retire here. So that's an outstanding feeling to look at somebody who's 22 years old, fresh out of college, first job, to say, this might be it. Mm-hmm. And we have seen that. So really, no regrets at all.
Fine.
Jeff, what do you see with the new teachers coming on board, the younger teachers? Are you impressed, or?
I'm very impressed with their ability to differentiate on the spot for all types of learners. They're coming very well prepared out of schools, and their student teaching experiences have been great. They take different types of courses than I did in the 80s and 90s. They come out SEI endorsed, which is Sheltered English Immersion, so they have a way to differentiate their instructions for students that have limited language abilities. They also have extreme special education training coming out of their schools, so they know how to deal with students who are on individualized education plan, or IEPs, 504s. So it's not an add-on in professional development. They're coming out with that training. What I can say is I'm not getting the applicants I used to. I used to have 65 people applying for a position. Now I'm getting under 20. So people out in the communities, if you want a solid career that's beneficial and super rewarding, look into teaching, elementary, middle, and secondary. We are looking for quality people to come out and do that job. But they are coming out well trained and extremely excited, post-COVID, extremely excited to get into the classroom.
Great to hear. That's great to
You
hear.
know, your response, you're talking about telling the person, and this might be your last interview because we want you here. That is so important to a new person, whether they be a veteran teacher or a brand new teacher, that somebody wants them and believes in them. And that message is very important. So
one of the things
really
also,
good.
I appreciate that, Tom, one of the things that we also is, when I meet with the candidates, it's really not an interview. It's a conversation as the superintendent, assistant superintendent, to talk to them about who we are, and we share our vision in the district and where we've been. And I'm lucky enough that my upper admin team of myself, I've been in district, I said, 15 years. Assistant Superintendent George Farrow has been in district since 2003, and new Assistant Superintendent Nikki Schneeweiss has been in district since 2007. We have a lot of institutional knowledge and history, and we didn't leave. So as a new person coming in, I think they feel pretty safe in what they hear from us. And then I also say, you're committing to us, and you're signing a contract. We're committing to you to grow you into the best teacher we can, through supports, through mentorship, and through professional development. So it's a rewarding. When we talk about rewards, that's a rewarding feeling as well.
Jeff, even though Tom and I are retired, any openings still?
I've got some subbing positions right now. I put you right in. In fact, we were leaving Duval, and a gentleman who just recently retired, I believe from the Stoughton School District, was bringing in an application because he knows the new principal of Duval. He lives down the street, and he's like, I'm willing to give up a couple days if you need me.
I know who that is.
Pretty awesome. It's a pretty good feeling.
I know that fella.
Yep. So.
You know, one of the other things I want to comment about the new kids coming in, or the new students, freshly graduated, not only do they understand special ed, they understand the culture of a lot of these people, which is so important. And that translates into an understanding that allows them to deal with kids and know that kids aren't being adversarial or anything else. It's their culture. And you stop, you pause, and you learn, and everybody's better for it. So
100%.
that's something that's really important the last few years.
100%. Absolutely
teacher
correct.
training. Yeah.
And we, to elaborate a little bit more on that too, is I think teachers coming out, or new professionals coming out, see that students and their colleagues are human, and people make mistakes. So I think we did a first take and something wasn't ready out here, and it's a redo, right?
Right.
We're teaching redos. It's
Yeah.
okay not to get the problems right the first time or on your homework, but you can redo that. And there's no penalty. Again, when I was teaching and you didn't get it right, that was your grade. That was, we're trying to get students to master the curriculum and understand the material. So sometimes it's okay to fail it as long as you have an opportunity to redo it. And that's matriculating through the grade levels from elementary, middle, and high, so that we really want mastery of content. And not everything is important, but mastery of content with the ability to retake that assessment, redo that homework assignment, so you truly learn. Yeah. And we've established some opportunities within the school day for our students to be able to do that. So it's just something that is a positive that's come out of teacher training, through schools evolving to the needs of the students that are in our classrooms in 2024.
Jeff, obviously curriculum and students are very important, but the Whitman Freedom Team is interested in some of these challenges that may come up in the classroom or in the school. What are some of the challenges that you face on a daily basis other than
Funding?
funding?
So
I'm talking about LGBTQ,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
talking about
So-
abuse and those kinds of...
So it runs the gamut, and I think what the Freedom Team can do is partner with us through our website, through our adjustment counselors. I know you've talked to Dr. Schneeweiss, I call her Dr. Nikki. You've had Nikki. We have a family liaison in the town of Whitman, Felicia Barbosa, who's new to us, not new to Whitman. She's a Whitman resident, working on her adjustment counselor license.
Yes, she's great.
She's
We had 'em on here.
outstanding.
She was great.
But sharing our message. So one of the thoughts I had coming in is I'd like to link up our website with your website. So the programs that we have and opportunities that we have, parents can if they're going through your website, which is overarching, can see some of the things we do. We want to protect all our kids. I call every one of our students sometimes, and maybe this is incorrect, but kids sometimes in schools, we're the island of misfit toys. Everybody has a niche, everybody has this, but it's really important to accept everybody. Everybody can find their spot. So we need to, in our schools, provide that opportunity for students to find who they connect with. Whether you're LGBTQ+, whether you're multiracial, whether you're a student of a divorce, whether you're a student who has had loss or grief, or you're a student who's bilingual. We want to find some place where you can connect or someone you can connect with. And part of our mantra is every student should have at least one adult in their life, in their school, that they can go to for whatever. But that's the piece that is evolved, and sometimes members of our community aren't really clear why we do that. Well, if we open the onion and tear back the layers, kids aren't the way they were when I went to school in the 80s. Kids aren't the same who I taught in the 2000s. Kids aren't the same when I was a principal in 2010. They're very different, and there are layers of different things that happen at home that we need to be prepared for. Starting my tenure as a superintendent, our elementaries did not have adjustment counselors. We did not have supports in the middle school. The high school had one. We now have 3 adjustment counselors at the high school. Each middle school has 1 adjustment and 1 counselor, and our elementaries have a dedicated adjustment counselor. Each school has a school psychologist. The high school has 2, and we've added Felicia on board as a family liaison. So we're trying to work with not only the teachers who are the point people there, the administrators who are also supports, but people trained in working some of these challenges that students come to school every day. And sometimes students don't share that. So unless you can see it and the student doesn't really speak English and you know how to address it, but we have students that deal with substance abuse at home. We have students that deal with domestic violence. The partnerships that we have with our local law enforcement, Chief Hanlon and Chief Mix, Deputy Chief Bombardier, Deputy Chief Casey, Chief Clancy, Chief O'Brien, they let us, and our resource officers, I can't speak highly enough about Officer Poirier in Whitman and Officer Harrington in Hanson, and former Officer Sergeant now Harrington in Whitman, who when something happens overnight, no matter what it is, they reach out to myself, Mr. Farrow, George Farrow, the building principal, to say, hey, listen, something happened at so-and-so's house last night. There was a fire, somebody didn't come home, whatever. Let us know. So we have boots on the ground. So when that child enters the school, we know we can create a safe space for them. And that's, it's called Do No Harm, and it's letting us know what has gone on. On that flip side, when students do come to us, we offer support services within the school day, and I've also contracted out with a support service called Care. It's called CARES, and it provides online. Well, it's a service that helps you find a provider. So if you have some issues and you can't go through your insurance, and my sister's a therapist right now, and she has a 7-month waiting list. This company will help you find a therapist by doing some outreach, and that goes for every parent, every student, every faculty member within the school district. That's our contract with them.
It's amazing the focus of education today versus the time than when I was there. I left 20 years ago, approximately, and the focus coming from the leader of the district is amazing. Before it was contracts, curriculum, public relations. Today, it's every every issue that's possible. And I think the public sometimes is a little naive to realize how many situations and troubling situations exist because of the confidentiality. You're not going to release that to people or neighbors. And people sometimes make judgments based on really false information and misinformation. So I really glad to see that. The idea of us sharing a website is outstanding. It really
I think it would be really,
Yeah.
and then again, what we have talked about, you've had some of my folks on already,
Yep.
And they're great people, but sharing of information so that folks may not be a resident or a parent or a guardian of somebody in our school, but is checking out your website and says, geez, I've heard what is SEI, what is social emotional learning. They can hit our website and see some of these definitions and have an understanding when it comes to budget time, and I'll bring up budget because you brought that up. That's a big, huge part of my job is advocating for the needs of my students. So when taxpayers have to support the budget or have to make a decision on supporting the budget, there's multiple areas other than just the school website, but connecting with your group's website and whatever within the community to access information. And information is key to making effective decisions.
These new programs that you have developed, obviously there's a cost to them, and you hear some citizens in the town complain about the cost of education. I gather that it's a good deal to do that, right?
We try to be.
I'm not putting words in your mouth, but
we try to be as efficient as possible. But the comprehensive understanding that the needs of students have changed in the past 15 years, the data out there is overwhelming. This is even pre-COVID. Kids, they're with social media, with technology, things that again we didn't have, but now are here. I mean, it was that computers aren't going to be around for a while, right? The internet is just a fad. Right. Cell phones are not. I live off my cell phone. I do my banking off my cell phone. I can pay bills off my cell phone. I find directions off my cell phone, and so do our children. And really, they are given this tool, which has evolved into some other areas of need for them because they're not socially developed to understand, especially social media or texting a friend at 11 o'clock at night with a picture that they might not have wanted to. I mean, we used to have to go to Photomat to have our pictures developed. That's instantaneous now. But the ramifications of making a mistake in schools now, grades K to 12, can be huge. If you post something that you shouldn't have posted and it's there's a consequence at school, and I don't mean a consequence with the school, but peer groups, and the schools have to act to that or react to that. So again, talking about that social emotional learning or educating our kids how to do it, the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic, out the door. We still do that, and I think we do that really well in a comprehensive way. We send some of our students to the best schools in the country. And we also send our students to the best trades in the area. And they also go in the armed services. My mantra, since I've been a principal, is I want you to be a productive citizen, civil citizen. I want you to be prepared to make a choice. In fact, I had a former student, class of 2015, at my house the other day. He's a contractor. He runs, he does home improvements, but he's that guy. He manages home properties. He went to college first, and he realized that wasn't for him. And we had this talk about that, and that's what a high school is supposed to do. It's supposed to prepare you for whatever career you want to do and work around those social emotional issues that weren't back in 2001, 2002, because those are really prominent. And when I say the high school has 3 adjustment counselors, they're busy every day. The middle school counselors are busy every day, and so are the elementary counselors, because home life is very different than it has been. Most of our families might have two folks working. Somebody's home, somebody's not. I have caretakers, grandparents taking care of children during the course of the day. The economy is moving, but people, it's challenging for all. So going back to the budget, I want to produce a budget that will effectively maintain the services for my kids. When I say my kids, our kids, while being as efficient as possible in that service. So that's the challenge, because I also have to pay staff, and they're also needing to make their ends meet as we go along. And Whitman-Hanson, I'll say that. I've been around. Whitman-Hanson has the best staff in the area. No questions asked. I know my other principals, my other superintendents, I'll brag about my people. They're outstanding. They work a lot of hours outside their contract. I have never heard a teacher say, that's outside of my contract hours, Jeff. What do you need me to do? Period. You know, they're just good people. And the community is an outstanding community who always does the right thing and supports really our needs.
Perhaps you can give a little bit, shed a little bit of light on some of the new families that are coming in.
Sure.
You hit upon a few of the things, but maybe a couple of specific challenges that we
Sure.
face, budget-wise or staffing-wise or whatever it might programmatically.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, I started in 2010. We had a 0.4 EL, English language learner teacher. 0.4. So 0.4 for folks out there, that's 2 classes. A high school teacher teaches 5 classes in their day. This was 0.2 for the district. I think there were less than 10 kids in the district that qualified for English language learner. Right now we have close to 250. So I have 6.5 staff members, which comes at a cost. We don't qualify as a district for any federal monies or any state funds yet. So 6.5 staff members. Most of them as full-time teachers and a few tutors in there to support the needs of those students who come from all different countries. I think we have 5 languages primarily that we service within our community. So therein lies the need for Felicia as a family liaison. Because one of the things I learned is that a lot of students come from Brazil in January-ish and don't really realize what winter's like in Massachusetts in January. So they come dressed like me and they get off the plane or wherever they're coming from and they don't have clothes. They don't have that. We've also learned socially, kids on the playgrounds playing soccer are a little bit more rough because that's the social structure in other countries. Whereas our kids are like, no, that's a foul.
Yeah.
So we have to modify that. So those are little impacts, but those are big things in an elementary school when you're in grade 3. And when students come, we welcome them and then try to do the best we can to modify what we can for that student. We have bought an EL curriculum taught by our EL teachers. We have Felicia in place. We also have Google Translate, which is a godsend for us to be able to translate when we're having parent meetings. We've run an adult EL course at night. And we also have what we call elementors. So those are students that go down to the elementary and help, who are bilingual students, helping out to help those students ease into this. I will say the new students have added flavor and culture to our district. Our cafeteria has modified and asked questions and has done tastings of different international foods for our students, and we've had International Day and then put different things on the menu again, we talk about all means all our students. So everybody that walks in our doors, we bring in and bring them in our bubble of Whitman-Hanson, so we take care of them. So from soup to nuts, from feeding, from lunches and breakfasts to trying to educate parents in English so that they can be more efficient in their role in the community, and then engaging them into our schools so that students feel welcome and understood, and then you mentioned that cultural flair to our communities.
Jeff, tomorrow's the first day of school you mentioned.
Correct.
What about you in terms of new programs, new challenges, new vision? What can the people of Whitman see in the future from the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District?
So right now we're looking at the opening tomorrow, but the big piece is looking at breaking ground in 2025 with the new Whitman Middle School. A beautiful design building that will fit the needs of the students for the next 50 years in Whitman. That project started with George and I in 2018. Our first goal was to write a statement of interest to the Mass School Building Authority to get this project going. George, that was a pet project for him, living that middle school experience for a while. He knew the ins and outs. So we wrote it, and we were lucky enough, and this is history, but good for folks to know. We wrote it, and we were accepted into the MSBA grant program in 2019 on our first go around. On average, it takes 3. to go forward. So that's a big thing for us. It's very exciting, and we're looking to open in February of 27. So breaking ground in spring of 25, opening the doors for 6, 7, and 8 in February 27, and for the 5th grade to move into that in September of 27. So that's what we're looking for. This year, we're going to continue our focus on professional development for all kids, meaning students on IEPs, regular education, specialty programs, accelerated programs, and students who have limited English. Me personally, we're in the process of writing my goals. People have thrown around some different things. You might see school start times out there. It's something the school committee can take up again. I'm not an advocate for or against. I lived the high school schedule for a while. It is early. But there's a financial impact for that, and sometimes that's the decision that I'm trying to go between because of money. And you go back to budget, as efficient as possible to make sure we maintain the services for kids. But we will be redeveloping our goals around cultural diversity in the district, making sure all kids are taken care of. And part of that process, and I haven't said, but we did an equity audit in 2021. So it kind of gave us a baseline of where all our kids are at. In an equity audit, sometimes people are like, oh, you're just looking at racial diversity or ethnic diversity. An equity audit shows where all of our students are, where my students who are advanced are. Are we providing them what they need to accelerate? Are we supporting the students who are not on an IEP, not, I would say, gifted, but are kind of in the middle? Are we servicing them? So that audit set a baseline for our work, and one of the new programs that we're instituting, we've done this K-8, but at the high school this year, we've had a win block, what I need now. So teachers have one-to-one time with their students during the course of the day, or 5-to-1 in small groups. We've done that K-8 for a few years now. The high school is now doing this year. So the way it's set up, the last period, 105, seniors who are in good standing, and seniors, if you're listening to me, probably not unless you're on YouTube, if you're in good standing, meaning you're not tardy more than 4 times in a quarter, you're academically eligible for athletics, you can leave at 105 every day. You don't need to stay in school. You don't have a what I need. However, a teacher has the opportunity for any student in that building during that win block to make an appointment with you, Dr. Szymaniak. You're not making effective progress in Spanish this year or this term. You need to come and see me on Tuesday at 105. And that teacher will have 5 to 10 to maybe 15 students working on homework that they've selected or that student has selected that teacher, or to work on homework, test redos, I mentioned redos, or extra help. Part of that, having that in the course of the school day, we've always been a proponent of extra help. Teachers, like I said, teachers work outside the contract a lot, but a lot of students can't get home. They take the school bus. They take the big yellow bus. So if you didn't have an opportunity to stay after school because no one is at home and you have to drive to wherever in Whitman or wherever in Hanson, we've provided you that half hour now. You know, so again, back to the equity piece. It's an equitable distribution of resources for our students and giving them opportunity to learn within the school day. If they need extra help, one of the grants that we did receive now at all 3 buildings was to provide transportation at 4 o'clock for after-school programs. However, a high school student ending at 1:40, that's a long time to stay for a bus. So we've bumped it up to providing the support systems in place during the course of the school day. So if I do need it, I can stay there for a half hour. I can stay 4 days a week with the same teacher and get that opportunity to help them grow academically and socially. Because we will run our clubs and activities too a couple of times during that win block.
Are the students that generally are interested in staying after and improving their lot in academic life at the high school?
Well, I'll give you that 50-50. You know, are they generally interested? Yeah, sometimes it takes a little bit of a push.
Okay.
You know, when push comes to shove, our kids are pretty awesome. And when a counselor, an assistant principal, a parent's involved in saying, you really need to stay after a couple of days a week, they do. But it's that mechanism of how you're going to get home. Or do I have football after school, or do I have a club and activity, and what's the priority? So sometimes that takes a conversation. Some kids do stay. because they don't have anywhere else to go.
Yeah.
You know, so we tried to provide as many opportunities after school. And I mentioned the grant program, our enrichment program after school. Over the summer, we had 150 kids over the summer in our middle school / high school enrichment program at no cost to them, doing culinary, doing art, learning ELA and math, doing a lot of fun stuff. You know, that's not funded through the district. That's funded through a grant. We've applied for 3 different grants, and we've been awarded those grants. We have an excellent grant writer who's also the director of the program, Chris Skutek. He used to be a math teacher. He is matriculated into this to make this work. We bring in a lot of money from the state for after-school programs and for our students during the course of the summer.
Tom, we got about another minute. You got another
Yes.
Another question to grill our guest here?
I don't have a question. I have a comment. It's rare, folks who might be listening, to see a leader such as Jeff, who has an IEP for every kid. It's not written, but it's stated. It's publicly demonstrated, and I want to commend you. I've been watching you over the years when you were principal. I was on the committee and so forth. But I can't say enough good things about the positivity that comes your way, the optimism, and never once during our discussion did I hear mandated. People say, "Oh, that's mandated, so we don't get funded on that." But
We do what's best for kids.
you do, and I
do what's best for
credit
kids.
you with that.
And that
Totally.
will continue, and with your support and groups within the town, always open for questions, always open for comments and critiques. I'm okay with that. If I don't know it's broken, that's my mantra. I can't fix what I know it's broke.
That's
you know,
right.
It's an old school. My dad used to say, "You can't fix it if you know it's broke." So you know, but it's okay. And I encourage feedback and positives too. I love giving positives out to my staff, and it's outstanding when parents email me and I can share that with my staff.
Thank you very much.
Will you be wearing your shorts tomorrow on the first day of
I
school?
probably will. Right now the forecast looks like 88 and 65% humidity. I probably will.
You could have a day off.
I'll be in a suit very soon. A suit and tie very soon. So I enjoy this.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very
pleasure.
much.
Yes.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
So much.
And I want to thank everybody for watching the Whitman Freedom Team programming today with our very special guest, Superintendent of Schools, Jeff Szymaniak. We want to remind you again, you can watch us on regular cable television here in Whitman and also on YouTube. So plenty of opportunities for you to find out exactly what's happening in the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District, particularly with regard to Whitman, because this is our program. And again, we're very, very fortunate to have Jeff with us. And Tom, you want to just take it away?
One final thing. The Whitman Freedom Team was scheduling a Unity Night for September 11th, but due to the outbreak of EEE, we are going to move that to October, and we will notify the public about that. We want to keep people safe, so please watch for that.
Okay. Okay, thanks very much. We want to thank the crew back there, Rob and others, for helping us put this together. And I know we'll see you again probably in late September or early October. We'll be in here, so we won't be bitten by the mosquitoes. So, Jeff, again, thanks very much.
Absolutely.
Good luck.
Appreciate
Good luck
the
this
invite.
year.
Take care.
Take care.